Say it again.
Anthony Fantano's review score for Kids See Ghosts is meaningful only insofar as it reveals, once again, that Anthony Fantano's review scores might as well be a random number generator.
How can you say that, Ben?
Because he gave it a 10, and it's not a 10.
Oh, man.
It's good. Kid Cudi continues to be a really great rapper.
Do you know...
Kanye continues to be my brother in Christ, and I love him for that.
I want to tell you, and I don't know if you knew this, but I want to know if you didn't know it, if it changes your opinion. Or not changes your opinion, but what it does to your opinion, if anything. So he gave this album a 10, and I think like 3 years ago, he gave Kid Cudi maybe the only 0 he's ever given. So he's only given like 3 10s and then like maybe 1 to 3 zeros, and Kid Cudi has received a 0 and a 10.
That doesn't change my opinion, but it is a fun fact about Fantano's review styles.
I haven't been keeping up with the guy.
His tweets pop up every now and then for me.
I admittedly checked out his tour dates, wanted to see if he's going on tour.
Is he speaking or
yeah,
rapping?
like a speaking tour.
Oh.
I think he might do some
Cal Puchesta.
LOL Cal Chuchesta songs,
Mm-hmm.
but it's mostly a speaking engagement. I would love to go.
Is he going to be a stand-up comedian now? Is he a spoken word artist? What are we talking about?
Have you ever watched the Evening with Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
Things? Those start so good and get progressively worse.
Hey, you got to remember, one thing about me is that I listened to Smodcast.
Oh yeah, you're a Kevin Smith guy.
A long time.
How could I forget that?
How could you forget that, Curtis? I thought you knew me.
I know.
Yeah, man. Like, I was a loyal Smodcast listener.
You're the
I've
guy.
spent dozens, let's say. I've spent dozens, if not 100+ hours, listening to Smodcast and playing Trackmania United.
Wow.
Yep. That was kind of what I did after I graduated high school.
That was old Ben.
That was old Ben. That was a dark time in my life. Maybe the closest I've gotten to hell.
Do you ever fall back into that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My tendency to self-isolate when I'm under stress is strong. It is a strong temptation for me.
I always
and every once in a while I think about playing Trackmania United, a game that I still think is really wonderful. And I have to I got to shake myself a little bit.
You gotta shake that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I was recording something, so I don't know if this is gonna totally blow out the music, so I gotta do a testy real quick.
You got some testes.
Looks pretty loud. Alright. Everyone's just loving this pre-show. This is all staying in because I need the hot take about Anthony Fantano.
Oh yeah,
there.
the whole show is built around the hot take about Fantano.
Get this out of the way too.
I already opened mine, so I can't really join in the festivities.
What else we got?
Oh jeez. Do we need to talk about what we're doing next week? We already talked about it.
We can do it on there. We can announce it formally on the show.
Yep.
Anything else?
Do you want to look a little farther ahead? I think we have some other stuff that we need to talk about what we're going to be doing. This week it's Narnia Part 1, then it's Music of 2018. What's up? What are you doing?
Nope.
Okay, you're doing 2.
Nothing.
All right. After that, I've got the Grand Buffet.
Ooh, perfect.
Then Narnia Part 2.
Ooh. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's good for me.
That's the podcast, right?
Yeah.
That's what this thing is. Then after that, you need to come up with another one
stuff.
because Narnia Part 2 is me. Because after that, all I've got is Resident Evil Part 1. Then Party Like It's 1999 is also on the list.
Yeah, we gotta start that pretty soon.
Antichrist is on the list.
No, I forgot about
Antichrist is on the list. And I've got the Terminator 2 /Trancers /The Guest, which I forget what those 3 things have in common. But apparently we really thought it was important that they be a unit.
If anyone remembers what we thought those three things
Oh,
have in
because
common,
that made it onto the show, I'm sure, in some form,
I don't remember.
right?
I know I brought Trancers to the table.
Yep.
And it does kind of have some T2 elements to it.
And the guest is very T2 by the end.
Okay. So maybe
it's a Terminator 2. Maybe Terminator 2 is the sun around which those planets revolve.
any excuse to watch Terminator 2 again.
Kind of fuck that movie, though?
No, why?
I don't know.
Well,
It's hokey.
I mean,
The fucking thumbs up coming out
that's
of
sick, dude. If you do not flow tears when you see that, you are broken.
This book made me cry twice.
Already?
Yeah, the book that... Well, I read the whole thing
Oh, okay.
in preparation, and I'm going to reread the second half again.
I'm only up to... I read chapter 9.
You read up to what the homework assignment was.
Yes.
Yes.
I did not do any extracurricular.
Totally fair. But I figured that I figured that at least one of us should have context for what the whole book is like and have that be fresh in our minds.
So, I don't remember what it's from. Some show. But it's like, have you ever done this? And then it's like, have you ever done this on weed? Mm-hmm. I had a similar... I was like drinking beer while reading this book, and I was thinking of that, and I was like, I don't know if this is just a sick book anyway, but I was like, not a very good controlled experiment, because I'm like, maybe it's just sick because I have beer.
Maybe it's just sick because I'm drinking. I'm for some reason I'm imagining you blackout drunk, like flipping through the pages. Aslan.
I remember a lot of it.
You remember a lot of the book?
Yes. So I'm excited to talk about it. Well, you know what? We should do a podcast about this book.
We should do it in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Ben and Curt Till It Hurts, the culture cast caught at the crossroads of curation and castration. I'm Ben.
And I'm Curt.
How are you doing, Curtis?
I'm great.
I'm great, too. Good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Thanks for all the pre-roll, everybody. Thank you for listening to all that.
That was not planned. That was a good joke, and it was not planned.
You been doing good recently?
Yeah.
You been up to anything that you want to talk about on the show?
I started to play Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh,
because
cool.
It's free.
Yeah, I've heard about this game.
I don't know anything about it. I know that it's like a weird like dating sim, and then eventually it gets scary? ?
Yeah.
So I haven't got to the scary part yet, and I've never been a fan of like dating sims,
visual novels.
So it's kind of
prurient.
I'm waiting for it to kick into what it. The part that I do think I'll like.
I've heard that thing is very good, but you can't trust what you read on the internet, man.
That's true. Nope. No truth on the internet.
Nope.
How have you been? What have you been doing?
I've been good. I got a new game called what's Fidel Dungeon Explorer.
Okay.
Which is like you know what a roguelike is? Mm-hmm. It's a roguelike, but it's also kind of a puzzle game because each level that you get to is like one screen arrayed on a grid. You are a dog, and you have to get through all the enemies without losing all your health, which means going through the enemies in a certain order to kill enemies and then get a health pack before you run out of hearts. But you cannot cross your own path.
Oh.
So it's about trying to find the best order in which to perform your tasks on the stage to get the most experience and the most gold.
That sounds stressful.
It's amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a really good puzzle game. It made me think of The Witness, because it's essentially a line-drawing puzzle game, but it just randomly generates these line-drawing puzzles, and I could just play it forever.
Is it going to be the new Spelunky?
Ooh, it does feel kind of like Spelunky. It's not as voluminous as Spelunky. It doesn't evolve in as many different directions as Spelunky, as far as I can tell. But I would say it's like a 1/8 Spelunky, and the eighth, it's not that it's 1/8 as good, it's that it's probably about as good as Spelunky. There's just 1/8 as much of it.
Yeah.
So it gives me those same Spelunky
it's like
feelings.
One piece of pizza versus a whole pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, one piece of pizza is still really good.
Straight out with the food metaphors. How long have we been recording?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Right.
What a fat piece of shit. I don't even do it on purpose. That's the worst part. Just like, pizza's good.
Pizza's good. Spelunky's good. This is a perfect match. I don't think I will play Fidel Dungeon Rescue for years.
Yeah.
As I have played Spelunky. But it is an extremely good game. And the other one that I've played is called Cultist Simulator, which is sort of it's visual novel-ish, but it's not in the way that like a Doki Doki Literature Club is, where it's like where Doki Doki Literature Club is a linear story where you maybe have some choices here and there, but you're really like exploring the story, the narrative. Cultist Simulator is based on the kind of cosmic horror fiction, largely pioneered by H.P. Lovecraft. But the way you play it is kind of hard to describe. It's technically a card game, but all the cards are less about numbers and more about what role they play in the story. So I guess it's kind of a role-playing card game, you could say. So what's an example? You start out, you read, the whole game is text-based. There's hardly any graphics. The only graphics there are is that there's a tabletop and cards arrayed on the tabletop. So it's literally like a digital computerized card game. And a card tells you that who you are. You are a man who works as a porter in a hospital. You're like a day laborer, essentially. And it tells you what cards tell you what happens to you, right? It's like, oh, you meet this guy who mysteriously dies. And then you lose your job. But then you find out that you've been bequeathed an inheritance from this guy you met who died of pneumonia in the hospital. And from this inheritance, different cards that you gather give you different places you can go explore in the city, which is not really exploring in the way that it is meant in other video games where you like press arrow keys and you move around in a space. It's exploring in that you take your card and you put it on a space that says explore, and then a certain amount of time passes, and then that space generates new cards that tell you what happened while you were exploring. And the whole game works like that. It's like, oh, well, there's a space that is just time passing, and you have cards that are health, and like cards that are your ability to reason, and cards that represent money. And as time passes, that space sucks in money cards and causes your money to deplete. Right? So it's, I don't know, man.
Sounds weird, Ben.
It's super weird, but it's really cool. If like, hey, do you like books? Do you like horror?
Yeah.
Not like horror movies, though. Like horror books.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? Don't know. I don't know.
You don't have experience with that.
Most of my reading occurred in a point in my life where you don't read scary books, and then I gave up reading when I got to the age when you can read scary books.
Man, that's when it gets good. That's when reading gets good. I am a big fan of horror fiction, particularly weird cosmic horror fiction, particularly weird cosmic horror fiction when it's done really, really well. And Cultist Simulator is it being done really, really well. The thing that I really love about it is the crazy directions your story can go from such humble beginnings. So, just to give you an example, the guy, my hospital porter who lost his job and got sent out on this other crazy adventure, ended up catching wind of this cult that he could start because he was exploring his dreams, which is another space that you can use. You can like apply your passion card to exploring your dreams, which hit a little too close to home for me. It's like, is this like a Last Starfighter situation? Am I playing out what's going to happen? I ended up getting too much secret knowledge from my dreams, and I met a woman who said to me that if I could get a follower to sacrifice in a month, that I could gain access to her cult. I did not end up gaining an acolyte in that month, so per the deal, I was given as a sacrifice.
Oh, So then you're just gonna start over.
Then, well, see what happens then is that it's kind of like a roguelike. What happens then is you get to choose who you play next. I think the choices were like a physician or a detective or another acolyte kind of person. And whoever you choose ends up picking up some of the plot line from the person who died, from your previous character.
That's crazy. That's like a spider web of...
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a fractal bursting out in all directions. And you get to set the name of the person. So, like, my first guy was Ben, because of course it was.
Naturally.
And then it was like, oh, Ben's effects are here. So, yeah, I love this game.
I don't know if I'd check that out, but it sounds interesting.
It's very cool.
I don't play a lot of games anymore. I just keep playing the same ones.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas. How's Fallout going? I've seen you playing a lot of Fallout.
That's the worst part. I can't even hide it anymore.
Can't hide it.
I haven't really been playing any Fallout, Ben.
You could play offline, but you wouldn't get those Chivos.
That's literally why I'm playing. Yeah. I gotta get the Chivos.
You're mopping up. You're a Fallout New Vegas janitor. How does that feel?
Feels great, Ben.
Yeah.
I actually... Maybe I'll... I'm not a PC gamer, so I don't know much about PC games, but I downloaded... It's the Steam Summer Sale, so I downloaded Resident Evil 4 because it was only $5, even though I have like 8 copies of it.
I saw you playing that too.
Yeah, I can't get it to run properly, so I think if there's a way that I can just like dumb down the graphics, it might run a little better. It looked like it was pretty crispy, even though it was moving in slow motion. So, one more tidbit before we start our
just the little bits of tid.
We're just tantalizing all the listeners who want to hear these Chronicles of Narnia. I was listening to Weird Al this morning.
Good.
I was listening to the Weird Al album Off the Deep End, which was the very first CD I ever owned. Mm-hmm. So I had some tapes and stuff.
Is that the one with the Nirvana Nevermind parody cover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I listened to that when I was pretty young. Probably like 10 was when I mostly listened to that one. And there's a parody of Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. Who sings that? Must be.
Yeah.
And
Can't Watch This.
Weird Al's version is Can't Watch This.
I remember it well.
And a line jumped out at me that I had never noticed before because I was 10 years old. And I pulled it up. Not that it's hard to remember, but can't stand Twin Peaks. Wish they'd lynch those donut-eating freaks. Never got that joke.
You just thought it was about hanging them.
Yeah, I just thought I just thought it was about hanging them, and I was like, "God damn it, Weird Al, that's fucking funny." That was nice on my ride to work today.
Yep. I have a little tidbit.
Tell us.
Important stuff. This should go up on the Twitter account at some point. David Lynch had some words this week about our president.
Oh.
Your president and mine.
Your president and mine.
Donald Trump.
Hashtag not my president. I mean, he is my president.
He is.
Unfortunately.
Of course he is. He's all of our president. Oh boy. All these are about, everything I'm seeing is about him walking it back.
So he retracted a little bit.
He retracted a little bit. Did you hear about this?
No, I haven't heard anything about it.
You haven't heard anything about this? Okay.
I think most people aren't keeping up with David Lynch.
Well, this made some waves, man, because he said that Trump could go down as one of the best presidents in history.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Trump could be one of the greatest presidents. Okay, there we go. Hollywood Reporter. This was just the other day. Thank you for everybody for bearing with me on this.
This is great. This is good. This is why people come back to this show.
Mm-hmm. Trump could go down as one of the greatest presidents in history because he has disrupted the thing so much. No one is able to counter this guy in an intelligent way. Our so-called leaders can't take the country forward, can't get anything done. Like children they are. Trump has shown all this.
Sure.
I love the way that he phrases that.
That was good.
Yeah.
He really hooks you in there.
Our so-called leaders can't take the country forward, can't get anything done. Like children they are. I want to be just like David Lynch when I grow up.
If you need help making your Eraserhead,
mm-hmm.
I will help you.
I don't know if I have an Eraserhead in me, man.
I think that's probably a good thing, Ben.
I've got a little Eraserhead baby inside of me somewhere.
Hashtag Eraserhead baby is my co-pilot.
I got to get in touch with my dreams before I can formulate my Eraserhead. I've got to really figure out what's going on in there.
I want to put mine in a dark box and just never...
Your dreams or your Eraserhead baby?
Hopefully there is no Eraserhead baby.
If you explore your dreams long enough, you will get to an Eraserhead baby-esque entity.
That's not good.
Why not?
Because that's scary.
It's in
gross.
there, man. It's in there whether you look for it or not. So would you rather turn your back on it? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Like cowards you are.
Like cowards you are. You need to face it.
Mm-hmm. You got to face up against it. Because it's there. And it's just emanating evil at you.
So why get closer to it?
You don't need to get closer to it. You just need to look at it. You need to look at it squarely in its weird little eyes.
Its weird little burpy mouth that has a little tongue sticking out. If anyone that listens to this, like if anyone finds this episode because they're a fan of the Chronicles of Narnia, like that isn't already a
they
listener
spent
of B&C
25 minutes talking about literally nothing.
You know, one more literal nothing.
All right.
I know this is our third.
One more tidbit.
So you know what we should do?
What?
We should workshop a new show, okay? You hear me? We do 100 episodes of Ben and Curt Till It Hurts. We can continue it or we can put it to bed. But we do a new podcast. I don't even know about what. We don't tell anybody what it's called. And we just put it online. And we just keep putting them online. And no one ever knows what we look like or who we are or how we are connected to B and C Till It H.
Is that not what we're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a paper trail.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
I do worry sometimes. I do think that we should conceal our identities more effectively. That's kind of a good idea.
Yeah,
we
probably.
never. So you're saying we never tell anyone? Can I tell my wife?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like no names on the show, no pictures of us on the site that we put the show on.
Yeah.
Just we'll see how long it takes. Probably forever because we're not that big of a deal.
Who knows? By episode 100, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're past 50 already.
Get that? Ooh, that's not good. That doesn't leave us a lot of time.
We're halfway there. We're not halfway to relevance yet.
We gotta get some more guests in here.
I like guests. I do like guests. I do.
New and old.
Mm-hmm. T.H. Paul.
Yeah.
Still
you know what? We told you the time, and you just didn't show up.
We waited.
I sincerely hope someday we're in the middle of this show and some of the people who know us just bust in unexpectedly to be on
there
it.
We go. Maybe I should start bringing my microphone just in case.
Just
that
in case.
happens.
I mean, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So,
what
you want to talk about some book?
What did we talk about this week? What are we talking about this week?
We are talking about the first entry.
Yes.
In the Chronicles of Narnia.
We're talking about that chronic.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis.
Yep.
Ben's pick.
I picked this book.
I fought this tooth and nail for months.
Yep. Curtis did not want to read a book.
Nope. Still didn't want to. Was fighting it last night, in fact.
Yeah.
When I read 3 chapters the other day, and then I read 6 chapters last night.
Yeah, we read the first half of it, approximately.
Yeah.
Up to a pretty good stopping point, I thought.
I think so.
Yep.
So, you want to take the reins on this?
Yeah, I guess. So, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a fantasy book. It is about 4 children who, during World War II, I believe around 1939, it was when bombing was starting to hit London, and like the war effort was really gearing up. They get sent, as many children did, out to the country to live in a safer place. And while they're living out here in this country house with the professor, who is, I believe, some kind of distant relative, they are trying to entertain themselves, and the youngest, Lucy, the youngest girl of the 4 siblings, Lucy, ends up stumbling into a land of mystery, magic, and adventure when she goes into this wardrobe and, finding no wall at the back, wanders through it into the land of Narnia. And while they're here, a whole adventure happens, right? much of what we read today does not take place in Narnia.
Yeah.
Like the first half of this book, what did you think of that? What did you think of just reading the first half of this book?
I think when reading it, I can't help but like compare it to other fantasy stories that I've read and kind of trying to fit it on a spectrum of fantasy. And that was one thing that I did notice immediately, because I read this in high school and I didn't read it when I was a kid. And I didn't notice this in high school, but unlike other very popular fantasy novels like Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz, or even Harry Potter to an extent, most of those fantasy stories you fall down a rabbit hole into this world, or you're
literally in the case of Alice in Wonderland.
You're picked up by a hurricane and dropped into it,
or an owl comes and delivers your letter.
Yeah. You go to a secret, a secret place where once you're through the whatever, what's that place
through the
called?
Looking Glass,
Diagon Alley. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a place of magic and wonder, and I thought it was very interesting that you kind of get this like soft intro to Narnia, like. Lucy goes there and she hangs out for a couple hours
with a fawn,
and then comes back.
Some guy, like she has tea and then comes back.
And then Edmund goes in for a little while and then he comes back.
Meets a witch,
no big deal. Eats some candy.
Yes, Turkish delight.
And then
commits sin.
All four of them go in, and that's up to the point we're at now where all four of them are there. And I thought it was very interesting that they kind of just like ease you into this. And they even have like a little discussion with the professor halfway through that, where they're saying some crazy stuff, and the professor's like, "Are you sure it's crazy?
Are you sure it's crazy?"
So it's cool that it's some great writing, and that it's framed to like ease a child reading it into a magical world and make you question, that it's okay to believe in these things.
Yeah, it just like it just instills a little bit of wonder in your day, when the wardrobe is such an ordinary object, and the idea that within any ordinary object can be a world of mystery and delight is a very appealing idea, especially to the mind of a child. It's maybe easier for children to believe that, which is why the story is geared toward children, but perhaps it's just as necessary for adults to be able to believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of the kids? They're like the principal characters. You've got Lucy, you've got Edmund, you've got Susan, you've got Peter. Two who are quite young and a couple who are transitioning into young adulthood. So
we have Edmund, little asshole, just straight up and down.
And Edmund is a real prick.
Just a person that has this negativity, just a seed of negativity in there in the beginning that just kind of blossoms. Over and over again, he's given choices, and he consistently picks the shittiest choice possible.
Yeah.
Lucy, she's great. She's the young, the innocent. Our I would say, of the four main characters, she's like the main character, I think.
Yeah.
I think you perceive the other three characters through Lucy.
The book is very much focalized through her, especially towards the beginning.
And then Peter's great. He's a young king, and what's the other girl's name?
Susan.
Susan. I don't know that she has shined very much in the first 9 chapters. Mm-hmm. She is definitely a good. She's on the side of like with Peter. She's the older, tries to keep the peace between all four of them.
Yeah, they're like getting to be grown-ups.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that really push to be like, well, because Edmund, there's a passage that I really liked that you made me think of just now when you were talking about how Edmund is consistently making terrible choices. And of course, yeah, he is. It says, now we come to the Lucy and Edmund have just come out of the wardrobe it was Lucy's second time, Edmund's first time. And Lucy's all excited because she's like, finally someone can corroborate my story. Somebody understands that I wasn't crazy. I wasn't just making up stories. I'm not like trying to deal with being sent out here by making up this fantastical story to deal with the boredom or whatever. So she's like, yes, Edmund, come, let's tell them about this place. And it says, now we come to one of the nastiest things in this story. Up to that moment, Edmund had been feeling sick and sulky and annoyed with Lucy for being right, but he hadn't made up his mind what to do. When Peter suddenly asked him the question, he decided all at once to do the meanest and most spiteful thing he could think of. He decided to let Lucy down. Susan says, tell us, Ed. And Edmund gave a very superior look as if he were far older than Lucy. There was really only 1 year's difference. And then a little snigger, and said, oh yes, Lucy and I have been playing, pretending that all her story about a country in the wardrobe is true. Just for fun, of course. There's nothing there, really. So, yeah, he's just like, he has this nasty little voice in his head that tells him to do these horrible things.
And even previously to that, there's kind of like, when he's hanging out with the witch and like eating the chocolate, like, he's so gross. Like, that's like what's so appealing about that to me, is just like, he's just shoveling chocolates and, like, just, like, disregarding his siblings. Like, why do you want me to bring them? I'm fucking cool.
I'm the cool one. They're all jerks.
Yeah.
Why do you want to talk to them? They don't know anything. They're not special like me.
But, yeah.
So what do you think of, like, the direction that it's going?
I don't know.
You don't know? You've read it before.
Yeah, but I don't remember. I honestly don't remember anything about it.
You don't remember the plot?
I know I read The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I think I finished What's Next, Prince Caspian.
Yeah,
I started that.
They're
one.
not. They're connected lightly.
Yeah, I know.
Like, this is a complete story.
I know that I had read them, but I just don't. I don't remember anything about them.
So, like, what we have so far are the 4 kids. So you've got. Well, what's one of the things that really strikes me when in rereading this is a little bit of the foreshadowing that's present in the text itself. Like, that the characters couldn't hear, but because we are getting the story narrated to us, we're able to see it. So what I'm talking about there is when, for instance, when Lucy goes through the wardrobe for the first time, and she meets Mr. Tumnus, the faun. It's all snowy all around her, right? And she ends up at this lamppost. She meets the faun, and he's talking to her. And she says, my name's Lucy. And he says, but you are, forgive me, you are what they call a girl. And she says, of course I'm a girl. And he says, you are in fact human, with a capital H, he says. And when Lucy says, of course I'm human, the H is not capitalized. It tells you that there's something special about the way the faun was saying human. That there's something special about the role that Lucy has to play in this world. Because you don't see a lot of humans. Have they, by the point that you're at, what's your sense for why being human is special in this world?
I don't know, because there aren't any more.
There aren't many. Have they talked about the prophecy at all?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. What's the prophecy?
That 4 humans will come and end the reign of the White Witch.
Yeah. Do you think that the White Witch is like a what's your take on the White Witch?
She is bad.
How bad?
Well, she plunged this world into a wintry world of darkness, still in which Christmas never comes.
Yeah, right. That's what the most evil thing that she does, right? That's the crux of her evil.
They say it like 3 times. That's
it's special, you know?
Yeah.
If you think about it, that's a particular kind of hell. Like a winter where the one thing good in winter never comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a never-ending winter. They've been in it for 100 years by the point that we get to this book. And that's an interesting comparison to the historical context from which this book emerged. Because if you think about, like, if you were living in London while it was being attacked by the Germans during World War II, it's winter, but also a rocket can come down and kill you at any time.
Yeah.
It would have felt like a never-ending winter in which Christmas never comes. The book that I can't stop talking about, Gravity's Rainbow, the first large chunk of that book, is kind of similar to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in that way. in that it is about the existential dread of living under the constant threat of death, from which there can be no redemption until the arrival of redemption, right? Mm-hmm. This brings us, of course, to the fact that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a well-known Christian allegory. The Christian allegory gets much more specific and pointed later on, but that's what it is. So, did you like this?
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah, I like this book. It intrigued me to finish it. Once I got reading it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty sweet. Like for a person who hasn't read a book in like 5 years. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I don't mind reading. I guess as far as like, I like to read fantasy novels a little bit. Like every few years, I feel like I reread Harry Potter, or I'll burn through The Wizard of Oz once in a while. So I feel like I maybe have not appreciated this book as much as I wish I would have when I was younger, because I was very much into books like this. I feel the same way about Redwall. I just never was exposed to it when it mattered, so now I kind of missed out on it. Yeah.
It's written in such a warm tone.
Yeah.
That's the thing that sticks out to me reading it now. Like the way the narrator is always kind of the narrator is not leading you by the hand through the story, but the narrator makes sure to stop every once in a while and say, like, are you still here with me, child? Like, are you getting this? Here's a part that is important. Like the part with Edmund. The narrative stops right there and says, what Edmund is about to do is horrible. This is a nasty, nasty thing that Edmund is doing. Another thing that stuck out to me, especially towards the beginning of this book, again, is that the narrator is constantly saying, never close a wardrobe door behind you. It is a foolish thing to do. Lucy knew this. Lucy did not close the wardrobe door behind her completely. Edmund, that little jerk, didn't even think about it. Edmund just closed the wardrobe door shut behind him. But you should never, ever close a wardrobe door shut behind you. And you can imagine C.S. Lewis sitting there writing this book and thinking, like, all right, I've got a great idea for a book that is going to, that is a very important part of my book is that magical adventures wait through the doors of wardrobes. Kids are going to want to reenact these events, and I need to make sure to put in here that it is a very foolish thing to close a wardrobe door behind you. The character who you want to be like, Lucy, does not do it. The character who you don't want to be like, does it. Don't ever close the door behind you.
Don't be like Edmund.
Don't be like Edmund. It's a real Goofus and Gallant situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got... Let's talk about where we're at.
Okay.
Right? Maybe I can get some predictions out of you from this. We've got beavers.
Yes.
Right? What do you think of the beavers? Mr. and Mrs. Beaver.
I really like the beavers. I really like in stories when a cozy home is like developed. It reminded me of like the Hobbit hole. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a den, right?
It's nice and warm, and there's a fire. It's like the Weasleys' house. It's just a very well described, comfy place. You're in a safe place, and it might. I think there's a lot to be said for places that are. How should I say this? Places that are dim and kind of messy can have this like warm, more welcoming environment than like, a big, as they go to later, a big castle courtyard with statues.
As Edmund goes to later.
Yeah. I really liked the beavers. It was very British. There was beer. There was
Yep.
There was boiled potatoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really did feel like a British countryside home, just described as beavers living there instead of people. Yeah.
So I was a big fan of the beavers.
Yeah, I really like what he does in that scene. The slow dawning realization that Edmund isn't there. Yeah. Like he pipes up at one point to say something dumb, right? What does he say? Gosh. His question about I think it's when they're talking about how she turns all the people she doesn't like into statues.
Yep.
And Edmund's like, but can't she just turn Aslan into a statue too? That's the one thing he says in that whole scene.
And
later on, they're like, that's so Edmund.
God damn
That's
it.
exactly the question that he would have asked.
I really enjoyed that when they realize he is gone, it's written in a way that feels like you are also just realizing he is gone. Like, holy shit, he hasn't spoken up for a while, has he?
We haven't seen Edmund there.
I was so drawn in by the beavers and their story of Aslan.
Oh, yeah, you find out so much. And you get one of the great moments of comfort in the book when they mention Aslan, and just a wave of euphoria comes over everybody. Because they all realize, like, oh, this is a solemn subject.
Yeah.
But
except Edmund, who feels terror.
Yes, Edmund feels like... And that's because the White Queen, the White Witch, has her hand around his soul. He's under her sway. He has decided that his, the thing that gives him comfort is the Turkish delight and the promise of more Turkish delight that the Queen has to offer him.
Yeah.
So the idea of Aslan coming, who he feels in his soul is an enemy of the White Queen, is like, oh no, someone's going to take away my Turkish delight.
He's going to kill his siblings to get some candy.
Yeah, well, he doesn't, and it talks about that in the chapter after the beavers when Edmund goes to the witch's house. He justifies his actions.
I was going to say, doesn't he convince himself that she's not as bad?
Yeah, he's like, oh, like she said, you can't always trust what a fawn says, and that probably applies to beavers too. And like all these people that are saying all this bad stuff about her, they're her enemies, so like of course they would say bad stuff about her. But every moment with the White Queen on the page, she's just miserable. Like, she is just mean. She's mean to Edmund. She's mean to the people who help her, and all she does is threaten and say she's going to kill people. Turn them into statues.
I liked the bit where the beaver was saying you shouldn't trust anyone that looks like a human who is not a human. Uh-huh. And then his wife's like, some dwarves are all right. And he's like, yeah, some dwarves are all right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Dwarves
all right.
are okay.
But other than them.
That really hit me because dwarves are cool. I like dwarves, so it was nice.
Yeah. I'm looking for the actual line because I really like that line. It's something like never trust someone that looks human but isn't human. Don't trust someone that is not yet human but is going to be human, and don't trust anyone that used to be human but isn't anymore.
Really going over all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after the beavers, right?
Yeah.
We go to find Edmund because I can't remember, Peter, is that his name? The older one? Peter?
Yeah.
Still, even though he's unbelievably upset with Edmund for selling them all out, still realizes that they have to save him and that they have it in them to forgive him, right. Even though left and right he's made poor choice after poor choice. I should hold myself to a higher standard because I don't think I'm that nice.
You don't think you would go after Edmund?
I don't know that I have the same capability to forgive that Peter does, so it's something to strive towards.
Well, really, you wonder, like, what's Edmund done really? What's Edmund done materially against them so far? He's, like, conspired with someone who wants to hurt them. But nothing bad has quite come of that yet, So why hold that against him? People make mistakes. That Turkish delight sure was tasty.
They do specify that the Turkish delight had some magic powers. He's under the power of the Turkish delight at this point.
He's under the power of his own sin. Is what he's under the power of. His own gluttony, his own desire to just keep eating and eating until he dies.
Sounds great.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it just?
You know what? This ties right in with the Grand Buffet.
Oh man, yeah, we will be talking about the Grand Buffet in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there will certainly be more to talk about once we finished it. Maybe these aren't 2-part episodes. Maybe these books are slim enough to do as one part.
I think now that you've gotten me over the hurdle of remembering that I can read, maybe we can start handling them in
And it didn't take you too long either, did it?
No, it didn't.
Couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're short books.
Yeah.
They're for children.
They move right along.
They do move right along. The story keeps on a-chugging.
Yep.
But yeah. Do you have anything else that you want to say about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
I'm looking forward to continuing it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a real good ending.
Yeah, I knew I liked it, but I wasn't really like looking forward to jumping back into it, I guess. Like a lot of times it'll have to be a spark to get my interest back into something. I can't just like, I'm going to check this out. I have to have some sign to pull me into it.
But eventually, like, following your nose with books is the greatest pleasure in the world. Just like, I don't know why I want to read this thing, but I really want to. Something calls out to me about it. Maybe you can't articulate what it is that calls out to you about it, but some part of you is saying, "Oh, read this. This is what you need next." And once you get a good book reading engine going, that's what's really fun. Do you think you're going to keep reading? I saw a copy of one of those books you were interested about.
Yeah,
reading downstairs.
I picked up some summer reading. I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah,
that's about something that I have interest in. So,
mm-hmm.
But yeah. What else do we got? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I'm perfectly satisfied cutting off the Narnia discussion there. I think that we're going to have a lot more to talk about once you've seen where the story develops to.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we've gotten you over the hurdle of reading half of a book.
Whew, let's hope it lasts, man.
Man, it's not an insubstantial thing. It is a substantial thing to jump into reading after having not read for a while.
So next week we will not be continuing our conversation about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for a little while.
Yep.
We're going to be... Well, I actually did not realize that it was so far into the year.
We're almost late for this.
Yeah. Last year, we did our... Like, halfway through the year, we did a mid-2017...
music review.
Yeah.
We're going to be continuing the tradition this year, I think is what we're getting at. We're going to be doing our mid-2018...
We were slowly getting there. My brain was...
I mean, we're going to do an episode about...
Long day, folks.
I'm feeling chipper. I'm feeling perky.
Yeah.
I'm glad I finally got a book on the podcast.
Ugh. If just like my pride wants me to almost like destroy the whole thing. Like, no books.
Blow it up.
Blow up the podcast. Quit the whole podcast.
Better no podcast than a book club podcast.
So we'll be doing our favorite albums so far from this year.
Yeah, 2018 in review thus far. I don't know about you, Curtis. We were going over it a little bit before we started recording. I've got a killer list already, man.
Yeah, I'm a little... you're going to have a hard time come December.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of stuff on your list that I haven't listened to, so I think it'll be good for me to get out there a little bit and listen to something that isn't metal or hip-hop.
Yeah, make sure you send me your list too.
Yes.
We'll exchange lists right now, and by right now I mean like over the internet after I leave.
Yeah, not on the show.
Not on the show. But yeah, have you had any good dreams lately?
I haven't. I had one. Okay, so here's the thing. I had two dreams.
Pull down that shade. Let's do Darkcast.
I don't know. This isn't really going to get us into Darkcast.
All right.
But I can. You know what? For the sake of the show, I'll do it.
There's a call happening. This should be Darkcast.
You're feeling the call?
I'm feeling frisky. Oh yeah.
Let me tilt the... Now we gotta...
I changed my posture.
We gotta vamp till your face changes. I don't know if you remember that part of it.
Oh, of course I do. I remember it all.
So, I had two dreams. I'm not really gonna be able to talk about these dreams. So, that's why I was hesitant to get into Darkcast.
Why aren't you gonna be able to talk about it?
The first one, I had a very significant dream, and then I woke up and I said, wow, that was a dream. Like, I need to write that one down. And then, same deal. Instantly fell asleep. Could not tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
And then the other dream that I had, which was very vivid, and I do remember it, I weirdly don't feel comfortable talking about it on the podcast.
Is there any way you could modify it to make it comfortable? Could you describe something essential about it?
It was it was just, I don't know. It was dealing with some thoughts that I wasn't happy to have been dreaming about. And it was just like it was one of those dreams that kind of like fucks you up a little bit for the next day. You're just like, oh man,
you keep thinking about it and you really don't want to.
Wish I could get that fucking dream out of my head.
How have you handled that afterwards?
There's not much that I can do, so I kind of just like have been just trying to like push it away, and then as a few days go by, it just kind of stops coming up. But
keep exploring,
just suppressing it. That's
keep exploring. Keep exploring that, because if you were given that dream for a reason. If it's something that you're uncomfortable with, then it is manifesting in your life in some way.
Yeah. Right?
So if it's something that you're uncomfortable with in the dream, then try to think about the dream every time it manifests in your life. No. Yeah, no, it sucks, and I've absolutely had similar dreams, and your mind can go very disturbing places. Your mind in dreaming. Your subconscious in dreaming, and if you go so far, God in giving you these dreams, is always disturbingly direct about what it wants you to figure out, because it knows more than you do, or he knows more than you do about the outcomes of your actions. That's the best advice I can give you. Would you be comfortable discussing this dream with me afterwards? I'm curious. If not, that's okay.
Possibly. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, we will wrap this up. Unless
I had a dream.
Oh, you have a dream? I'm sorry. Yeah. Man, how selfish of me.
Come on, Curtis.
I know.
I had an uplifting and enlightening dream.
Okay.
The dream was that I was sitting on a hillside, a grassy hillside, and I was struggling to maintain my place on the hillside. It was at about a 45-degree angle. So I would sit on it, and then I would start sliding, and I had to be in these like contorted and difficult positions to stay on the hillside.
Okay.
And I looked down, and there was just forest at the bottom of the hill, and I didn't want to go there. But I looked up behind me towards the top of the hill. I was much closer to the top of the hill than to the bottom of the hill. So I looked up behind me, and I saw that there were people sitting at the top of the hill quite comfortably, and they were able to see a little farther. They were just able to sit and look. They didn't need to constantly worry about slipping down the hill.
Yeah.
So I looked up there, and I thought, boy, it would be nice to be up there, but there's no room for me, because it looked like we were kind of at the edge of the hill, and there wouldn't be enough room if I tried to go up and sit.
Did you see who was up there?
I think it was people that I used to work at a summer camp with. So like people that I knew as camp counselors and various teachers at the camp. There was definitely a campy vibe about the dream, which is something that I haven't talked a great deal about on the podcast, but it was like a couple significant summers of my life. So I was looking up at them, and I was like, oh, I can't really go up there. There's no space for me, but I also can't go down there because that's the forest, and I can't go there. So I just have to keep struggling. But eventually, I kind of worked my way up the hill to the top, and people moved down so that there was room for me. And I sat on the top of the hill, and I was finally able to see this beautiful view of, it was either sunrise or sunset. I leaned towards sunrise, but that could be just post hoc explanation. Yeah. And the sunrise was breaking over a lake with kind of a forest. It was like a coastline. It was like a Maine coastline.
Yeah.
That kind of jagged edge that Maine coastlines have. Very rocky, and with a lot of coastal trees. And the sun was breaking over it, and I pointed that out to people, and we all looked at it, and it was very nice. And I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and tranquility in that moment. Dream. And it has colored the days following. I had this dream several days ago, and I have had some remnant of that sense of peace and tranquility with me ever since.
That's nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
I don't have good dreams very often.
You got to get past the bad stuff first is the hard thing. Like you'll get a general mixture of good and bad dreams forever. But the more you're able to confront the bad dreams and figure out how to work through nightmares, the easier and the more you're able to do that, the more likely it is that you'll get more good dreams. Yeah.
I'm afraid to confront that, Ben.
It's scary.
Yeah.
And it can hurt you. You're right to be afraid. But you should still do it. It's still worth doing. Are we ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Shade up or shade down?
Shade up. Let's do shade up for the end. Uh-oh, Kurt's stuck on his... Kurt's
chair,
trapped.
man.
This chair will not cooperate.
Neither will the cord that I'm tripping. There we go. All right, shade up. Dreamcast over.
Dreamcast over. Darkcast over.
Yeah, so...
Everybody, thank you for listening to this.
Yeah, today's been a wild ride.
It's been interesting.
So
I'm really excited for... Well, I'm excited for the next few weeks, honestly.
Yeah.
We've got best albums so far, 2018, next week. Always a fun episode. Always a lot of fun to talk about music, and it's something that we haven't talked about in a while. Since, Freddie Gibbs, I'm pretty sure, right?
Maybe it was Guar before or after Freddie Gibbs.
I'm not sure. It could be either Guar or Freddie Gibbs was the last
close
one.
to each other.
But either way, it's been weeks.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Grand Buffet.
Yes. That's on Amazon Prime.
On Amazon
So
Prime. It's going to be good. I'm not going to be blowing any dollars.
Yeah, you don't have to try to track down a weird French film from the 70s.
We should do the Grand Buffet and the Grand Budapest Hotel as a double
I'm going to
feature.
do a hard veto on that one.
You're not a Wes Anderson guy?
I don't know.
All right, that's okay.
But I've had the Grand Buffet on my list for a while, so I want to just enjoy it for what it is.
Have you seen this movie before?
No.
Very interesting. All right, we're both going into this one blind.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. This could go one of two ways, man. What if your dream was like the Grand Buffet?
Oh man.
Yeah.
That'd
Think
be a
about
weird
that.
one.
And then after that, we'll be doing the rest of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a few weeks to crank that out.
You got a few weeks.
I'll probably wait till 20 days from now? 3 weeks from now? I'll probably wait till then.
I already read it. I will, of course, be rereading it and adding more stickies and giving myself more notes, different passages that I liked and stuff like that. I would encourage you to do the same.
Yeah.
You know, if anything jumps out at you as like, I really liked that part, then if you're comfortable writing in your copy, to just underline it or put a note in the margin or something.
I will do that.
Yeah, it's good. It helps to cement things in your mind. But, yeah. You can follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Ben_and_Curt. You can follow us on YouTube. Same deal, basically. Yeah. We are a Black Gold podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Subscribe to us on what's Buzzsprout?
Yep.
Does Buzzsprout have a subscription feature?
I don't think so. I think you can just stream it from Buzzsprout.
Go stream us on Buzzsprout.
And then follow me, Twitter and Instagram, KurtCake5K.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get our music queued up here. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.